Hello, this is geferris, your narrator. In 1995, when I went to Greenland, Greenland, I had the privilege of learning about the value of this particular kayak paddle blade design, which helps you accelerate much better. This is a photograph of Nikolaj Jensen, Greenland area. This paddle is specifically designed for hunting. It is very quiet. It gives a lot of power. There are some specific details about it that give it a lot of power. One of them is it has a ribs down the middle, and the loom is the width of the kayak. It's extremely smooth to make it as quiet as possible. It has a rectangular loom to it. I've set this paddle so that you can visualize that rib. Nikolaj Jensen explained to me why he put a rib down the middle of this paddle. And the purpose is, as you can see in this drawing that I have made, that the rib is specifically designed to split the vortex. So the paddle blade becomes diamond shaped. And that gives you a tremendous advantage when starting up or accelerating, because the paddle doesn't waver back and forth in the water as a flat-bladed paddle will do. He was right, and it was wonderful for Nikolaj to tell me this while I was in Greenland in 1995. This paddle Lars Jensen is using, which is his, doesn't have the diamond shape cross-section to it. I have grabbed this footage of Lars Jensen paddling, and he's using a flat paddle, but this is to illustrate the point at which the paddle is going to waver in the water, because it'll be pulled by the vortex, the single vortex this flat paddle is generating, whereas the one that is divided into a rhombohedric or diamond shape will just pull straight back. I carry my kayak like that at times. I do that when I have a bunch of stuff. Here I am in this picture, 1995, in the museum at Asiat, and I was directed to look at this unique storm paddle called Kikkidik paddle, and I couldn't believe how thick and how heavy it was. But one thing that was also fascinating in it was that it had a defined rib right down the middle. Exciting to be able to see this in the ground at the museum. The amount of ivory on this paddle is quite surprising because it's a lot of ivory. It's very carefully pegged in to be very strong, as you can see in this picture. I have measured other paddles in Greenland, and none of them look like this paddle, which is so thick and so wide and so short and so heavy. It's quite unique. Here are two of the drawings I made of this paddle, just to show you in a drawing sense what it looks like. However, in a photograph it looks even more interesting. The length of the loom is really very short. It's only 12 inches. Here is my drawing. However, it's only half of the loom in this illustration, but you can see in the upcoming picture the entire loom for perspective. The total length of this paddle is only around 6 feet, typical of a storm paddle. You want a short paddle with a lot of drive and buoyancy to it for sliding hand technique. Total length of the paddle is probably 6 feet. There was a kayak that had been sent to the Upernavik Museum, and one of the things that fascinated me happened to be this paddle you see alongside it, which obviously has a very pronounced rib, very similar to the Kittit paddle. This is at the Knud Rasmussen Museum in Ilulissat or Jakobshavn, and these two paddles happen to be very interesting because both of them happen to have somewhat of a rib, one more pronounced than the other, and they are extensively decorated with ivory. I went to the trouble of measuring them in my spare time, and I'm very glad I did, because I would have never noticed or remembered that these two paddles happen to be designed, at least in one instance, definitely for sliding hand paddling technique, a storm paddle, and that they both of them have a ridge right down the center of them. And the other thing with the loom is that the width of it is the opposite to the paddle blades, because you want as much strength in the loom as possible, yet you want a comfortable dimension for your hands and fingers to grasp around. Had it not been for the wonderful sage advice from a very, very seasoned hunter-paddler in Kuslausavik, Nikolaj Jensen, I would have never been aware of how important it was to have a ridge or dihedral shape to a paddle blade, how much it contributes to it providing lift because it splits the vortex. One of the other wonderful qualities of working with wood is you can make it whatever shape you would like, and to make the wood not retain water, Nikolaj told me, oh, we just would scrape it with glass. The little silica residue on the surface would make the paddle dripless and therefore noiseless when hunting. Any drips from the water would alert a seal that something was out there. This next paddle is from Alaska, Kodiak Island, the Vranov Museum. It's an Aleut paddle for a 3-man bidarka, And it also has this rib down the middle. This is geferris, your narrator. Thank you very much for watching my video.